Hi, Principles of Human Services. I am trying a different video recorder because the other one cut me off before I was finished. So this will be a smaller screen. So we're in Chapter 1, Introduction to Human Services. So we're going to explain the historical beginnings and the growth of the field. I'm going to give you examples, and these are things that we're going to do throughout the year. I'm going to read the whole thing. We're going to summarize key education, training. We're going to look at different challenges and describe job outlook for careers. Okay, when you think of careers in human services, which jobs come to mind? Which human service career interests you the most? What skills do you have that would make you a good fit for that? And what skills or education do you need to succeed in this job? So what is human services? It's a huge career field that provides for people's needs. It is vast, massive. I'm going to talk about a little bit on here, but it's huge. Anything that helps people, and we're going to address different things with that. So human service workers assist people at all stages of life. They help coordinate services and give support and advice to those who are struggling. Okay, so what is it? It's a career field that provides for people's needs. I did that already. So some of just a little list of things that services that are offered: housing assistance for people with low income, financial education and assistance to single parents, counseling for people who are struggling, after-school activities for young teens, daycare for older adults, nutrition advice for young parents, temporary housing for people in transition. These are just a little snip. Okay, so it is a new career that has been around about 100 years. As far as the actual field of work, it represents a cultural shift in ideology about who's responsible to meet needs and how to meet them. It has expanded and evolved to meet the changing needs of society and offer new services when they are needed. Okay, so talking about the ideology change. Prior to this way of thinking changing, the only group of people that were helping to meet people's needs were religious organizations. People in churches were feeding the poor and starting hospitals and helping people who are living in poverty or down on their luck. It was only people in churches that were helping to meet those needs. Orphanages and like I said, hospitals. Because the rest of society just felt like, well, they're living in poverty, they're down on their luck, maybe they should try harder. And that's the way the rest of society kind of looked at it. But then there was a shift in ideology that started with the Great Depression. So we're going to talk about that. Urban density and Industrial Revolution led to this shift because more people moved into cities, and before that, people lived on farms. And as the Dust Bowl happened, people moved from farms to cities to find work. So the Charitable Organization Society and the U.S. Settlement House movement, that began. And then we had World War I and the Great Depression right about that time. It resulted in Americans needing financial support. The Great Depression, which is a whole huge history lesson that would take probably several days to talk about that, resulted in so many people out of work. The Dust Bowl and famine happened during that time, and it was hard to get work. It was hard to get fed. And so the president at that time was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and he started two new programs, the New Deal and the Social Security Act of 1935. So the New Deal helped people who were in poverty be able to get food stamps and assistance, and where they could be fed, where they could have somewhere to live. And the Social Security Act of 1935, that started off with helping the elderly who may be in poverty. And then that expanded to Medicaid and Medicare and all of those programs. But it started with the Great Depression. It was supposed to have been a temporary fix, but because the poverty was so widespread during the Great Depression and the famine and the Dust Bowl, it had to be huge. But people didn't really move off of that. They wanted to stay on those programs. So this was the beginning of that. Okay. So World War II happened, and it led to a huge economic recovery. And during the latter part of the 20th century, the Department of Human and Health Services, because they had the Social Security Act and the New Deal Act in place, now since the country was prospering, they were able to expand those services to Head Start, which is pre-K learning at schools or daycare centers that would get government funding so that children could be taken care of and learn while their parents went to work. And then the Family and Medical Leave Act, which has really been expanded, newer now, but this is where it got its beginnings. Today, new programs continue to be developed all the time. So here are some common careers in human services. These are career opportunities, and these expand even more so. This is just a little snippet. So an agency administrator, caseworker, child advocate, child care worker, child life specialist who works in hospitals. They are amazing. Consumer advocate, counselor, credit counselor, curriculum specialist. Those are in schools. Customer service representatives, daycare center directors, education advisors, extension specialists, financial advisors, health educators, life coaches, mental health counselors, nannies, patient advocate. And I said that nannies like that because I wasn't expecting to say that word, but that's needed. Patient advocate at hospitals. Whenever you go into a hospital, you have someone who is assigned to make sure everything is done correctly for you. Public relations specialists, recreation therapists, rehabilitation counselor, sales representatives, school counselors, social service assistants, social workers, teachers, volunteer coordinator. These are just a small snip. Okay. So human services career settings, they are family and children's service agencies, federal and state governments, public and private schools, private businesses, public places of worship, nursing homes, and hospitals. And so even though we have government doing more things now, we still have places of worship that still offer human service help. And some people serve in this way through churches. So they have not stopped. It's just expanded government. Okay, so employment categories. So these are the big, huge categories, and then things are after those. So we have consumer services, counseling and mental health services, which is also huge, early childhood development services, family and community services, personal care services, entrepreneurial careers, food, clothing, and housing related services. And we will stop there. Turn your Cornell notes in for slides 1 through 14. And thanks.